All right, guys. First of all, who shit my pants? Second of all, new support announced for Whitewoods. Okay, coming in Rage of the Abyss. The effect has been revealed. So this is first impression reaction. Before you get excited, this is announced for Rage of the Abyss. This is not like a last minute info import or something like that. So Rage of Abyss comes out for us October 10th or October 11th in North America. And it is coming in Japan this month in July, and that's cool because, okay, for two reasons. Not only do we get to see what the OCG players do, but this means, because this is the first card that I know of that has been announced as Whitewood's support in Rage of the Abyss. And hopefully that means there will be other cards. Often when you get a wave of support, they're like three-ish cards. So hopefully it's not just this one card and we get other cards. And Whitewoods is like really close to being super, super good, especially if there's a ban list that hits the relevant decks. And if Fiendsmith is the best version of Whitewoods, they're obviously not going to hit Fiendsmith in the next ban list because the cards just came out and they're going to be expensive. So we could be sitting, potential tier one status competing with the best decks in the game, especially if Yubel also gets hit alongside Snake Eyes. So this is exciting. Okay. Second of all, it's looking kind of bad. All right, looking kind of bad. Some Baddie status here. Now the effect. Devil of the White Forest. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's with this card's name once per turn. You can only use the first and second effect of cards with this card's name once per turn. Okay. Tribute a synchro monster you control. Easy. Then target one face-up card on the field. Okay, semicolon. This is the activation procedure here. Negate its effects until the end of this turn. Then, if you tributed a White Forest Synchro monster, you can special summon one illusion monster from your graveyard. And then the normal effect is if it's sent to the graveyard to activate a monster effect, then you can set it. Also, apparently, there was some Master Duel leak that is being referenced there, and they think that it's actually will be called White Forest, which is pretty lame because Whitewoods, there was some alliteration there, so I thought that was cool there. But anyhow, what can we do with this? Okay, first of all, let me show you just some theoretical, hypothetical things you could do, and then I'll show you why I think this actually matters. The pool of illusion monsters is not very large. I think that maybe there could be a setup for this card, especially because Beatrice exists, and if you're playing the Fiendsmith build, which may end up being the best version, you can dump this card. This murders Tenpai, because your opponent has to set spell or trap cards before activating them. It also turns off certain breakers. So if we go into a breaker format and they have to set the evenly match and then it's a trap card, so they can't use it, or they have to set the droplets, so they can't use the droplets. And then if a spell or trap becomes set on the field while this card is in the monster zone, you can target a card you control and a card your opponent controls, destroy them. So this is not like, I'm not saying that you must main deck this card all of a sudden because it's not like a great card to draw, but I am saying that this could be situationally extremely powerful, especially if we enter a breaker meta, and especially if a lot of the popular breakers are stuff like droplet evenly, super poly, like that type of stuff. This card could be really, really strong, and then we would just easily Beatrice through the Fiendsmith engine, and then we would get it back with this new card, Devil of the White Forest. Should be called Baddie of the White Forest. There is, okay, honestly, the pool, because the pool is so small, there's not like stuff that's really good. Like House of Wax could be super gimmicky against Tenpai, maybe. This card, Nightmare Magician, is a hard brick, and you for sure do not want to draw this, and I'm not saying you should play this, but you could have niche situations where you need to out a towers. Like, for example, people were to play a card like Dragoon. This card says, at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster and can't be destroyed by battle because it's an illusion, you can take control of that opponent's monster. This is permanent. It does not negate the effects. Does not target. So this can take Dragoon. Once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if another monster attacks, you can destroy one card on the field. Also doesn't target, and then you choose what card you want to destroy, so that's quite flexible. I've seen, for some reason, like a bunch of lists. Like I saw some other people making Whitewoods videos, and they're playing like Mud Dragon and Dragoon. I'm going to go over tech options in the next video. And I don't know why people are doing that. It seems quite neg to me, but if for some reason stuff like that became popular, this card could be good. Now, let's go into the real reason that I think this card could be seriously meta relevant. So let's look at a sample combo. I showed this off in my Fiendsmith video. And one of the problems with going for these super impressive end boards is that it can beat many different decks like very easily if they don't draw access to certain breakers. So here I'm just showing the like Apo on Summon 5 without using your normal. There are different ways to do this. I show this in my previous combo videos. And then I'm also using the Fiendsmith cards here. And I'm searching Valor off the Arciela and going into the Fiendsmith plays now, going to Sequentia, and that allows us to fuse for the DS Ire. And then we bring that back out so that we can equip it with the Sequentia. So in this is a very standard type of end board if you are uninterrupted. And then the end board is basically the same if you're interrupted in particular places. And then if you're hurt, your end board can look a little bit worse, but you'll usually at least end with like Whitewoods cards or Fiendsmith cards. Now, here's the thing. If you get hit by like Droplet, Super Poly doesn't hurt this deck that much because you have like lots of different ways to continue playing when your cards are in the grave and you have like the set woes and whatever. But let's say you get Dark Rulered, okay? I saw this one comment that was saying, well, if you get Dark Ruler, just chain woes and then, you know, chain Dies Irae and negate the Dark Ruler. But then the Dark Ruler traded with your Dies Irae, and it forced out your woes, which may also force out like a Sylve or an Arcia in your grave, just to be able to have something to synchro summon with. And then it's like, okay, what, you're going to bring out Silvera to Book of Eclipse nothing on their field, or you're going to bring out Arciela again to what, search another Valor if you even play it, which you won't if you're on Breakers, or you're going to search an engine card. Like, so what, you've gone through like half of your cards on the field? That's not good. Obviously, if they droplet and they send like half of their hand, then you can argue that trading the woes and the Dies Irae is a better deal in terms of card economy. But generally speaking, this is not super great into certain types of breakers, especially if your opponent is on Thrust and Talents, which can take your Appaloosa, and then you have to play through your own Appaloosa before you can even stop what your opponent is doing. And if people are on breakers, this is going to be a super common scenario. So what this card means is, let's say your opponent, like worst case scenario, they activate Dark Ruler, and you're like, okay, do I do nothing, allow it to resolve, and then go into Silvera after, or do I use a bunch of cards just to Dies Irae it? Instead, you contribute a synchro monster you control, then target a face-up card on the field. Okay, so you're going to attribute the Diabell in most scenarios. Then you're going to target the Dark Ruler or the Droplet or whatever, negate its effects until the end of the turn. And because it's a spell, you can respond to the Dark Ruler. And if they don't send a spell with Droplet, you can also negate the Droplet. And then if you really wanted to be able to use your Dies Irae or your Devil of the White Woods, you could chain the woes, and depending on whether that was good or not. So anyhow, there are lots of ways to play around those breakers now. And then it says, okay, if you attributed a White Forest Synchro monster, which would be the Diabell, Phoenix of the White Woods, you can special summon an illusion monster from your graveyard. So I think that probably the utility of this card is not going to be trying to put Nightmare, Magician, or Diabells into your deck. Although maybe after siding, when you know you're going first, sending Diabells off the Beatrice could be very strong against certain decks. I think that's probably going to be an option for siding and not for main deck. But just bringing back your own Diabell, because you don't even lose the card. In terms of card economy, a Dark Ruler, you activate Devil of the White Forest, you bring back your own Diabell because it's an illusion monster. Remember that the rest of your synchros are spellcasters. So you haven't even used the Diabell. Like it's not negated. Everything is fine. You continue playing. So I think that will be the real utility of the card. Now, you could argue that it's not worth main decking, because if we just like go back to like my Fiendsmith version here, you could say, well, you're going to have to take out one of your breakers to play this, or like reduce the number of Tractuses that you play. And I'm already considering playing 3 Tractus. Or you have to take out like a Prosperity, but then it's less likely you'll see the Fiendsmith cards and you'll have to go into it with Closed Heaven or whatever. So maybe this card, this Devil of the White Forest, is a side deck card, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Maybe it's a super strong, very solid side deck card. So yeah, those are the first impressions. I'm not sure how much there is to actually lab with this, because there's just not a very large pool of illusion monsters, but that's the first impression. When the other stuff is revealed, I will react to that and see like how much potential it has for the deck. So that's all for now.